During Mia's quest to find a book buddy, she adopted the introverted Chloe Forkroad, a girl who isolated herself at school and worried about how to socialize, often retreating to her books. Chloe, initially confused and suspecting pity, was taken aback when Mia explained her genuine interest in books and her desire to share stories. The next day, Mia remembered a past failure of making a bento for Prince Sion during the swordsmanship tournament. Determined not to make the same mistake, she asked Prince Abel if she could bring him lunch, and he agreed. However, Mia overlooked a crucial detail. Bentos needed to be ordered in advance. Mia continued planning for her future when aware of the hurdles ahead. What in the moons is the meaning of this?
By the time the matter came to light, there were only 4 days left until the swordsmanship tournament. Mia headed for the best bento shop on the island and was faced with a harsh reality.
For that day? Sorry, but all the shops here add up to their eyes in orders. I don't think you can find one to make you one.
She cursed her carelessness. When Mia heard from her entourage that when it comes to bentos, it is better to add a personal touch, she decided to order it herself without consulting Anne. She had interacted with many merchants back in Tearmoon. Similarly, she had seen Ludwig deal with purchases before. Having seen it done, she'd figured it'd be a cinch to do it herself. Her confidence, however, ultimately betrayed her.
Oh, merciful moons, what should I do?
Hearing that all the stores making bentos have already closed their reservations caused her to break out in a cold sweat.
Maybe if I paid them more money. Yes, if I brought enough gold.
The easiest solution can indeed be throwing more money. Who knows? If she throws a lot of money, her order might even be prioritized. But
no, I can't do that.
Mia immediately dismissed the idea. As she had learned after several social dinners, the ruler of the school, the daughter of the Duke of Beluga, Saint Rufina, is a very conscientious person. In theory, she could force a store to serve her by throwing money at the problem, and while selfish, that might still be forgiven if the store's staff simply worked longer hours. But if the store ended up canceling other reservations in order to give priority to her order, then Rufina's opinion of her would be ruined and she will never speak to Mia again.
That indeed would be bad.
However, Mia couldn't come up with any other ideas no matter how hard she racked her brains, and so
Anne!
She had no choice but to rely on her loyal maid who was waiting in her room. Mia-sama, please calm down. Anne was surprised and worried when she saw Mia returning to the room on the verge of tears. But when she heard about the situation, she immediately started to act. Okay, first order of business should be to ask around for more information in the markets. Anne had been steadily expanding her network of connections while Mia was enjoying her school life. At the beginning, it was only the staff of St. Noel Academy. Through them, she got to know the merchants who did business with the academy. Next, she asked those merchants to introduce her to even more merchants. She paid frequent visits to the town, and the people in the market all knew her by name. As a result of making full use of such connections, Anne understood the general situation. I see, it's certainly a tough problem. In the first place, the lavish bento that Mia wants is very difficult to find in stores around here. Bentos contain food that is meant to be eaten when one goes out. It's needed primarily during long journeys. Therefore, the general public imagines it to be bland food that focuses on long storage life and resistant to spoilage, such as jerky and dried bread. As a matter of fact, the idea is not so different even for noble circles. First of all, it is important not to get hungry. So it is something that you eat that will replenish nutrition. The taste factor is only secondary and most times optional. That's why there's no market demand for delicious bentos to win the heart of the boy you like. People don't bother to pay for such things, and even the students who go to school don't always need them. The number of shops that made them were limited, and they were already in a situation where they couldn't accept new orders. Basically, we're missing manpower. Anne let out a sigh of relief. At the very least, it wasn't the worst that could happen. What Anne was most afraid of was the lack of ingredients. If they don't even have the ingredients for the bento, then it is useless to even talk about it. In that case, Anne went around the market and placed the orders for the ingredients for the bento. Then she returned to Mia.
Were you able to figure something out?
Anne nodded a little to Mia, who was clinging to her because of her uneasiness. I think so. I think it might work out after all. Mia sighed with relief upon hearing Anne's response.
Oh, thank the moons. I knew I could count on you, Anne. So, which story's gonna make it?
No, Mia-sama, that wasn't possible. Mia turned blue again upon hearing those words.
So, what are we gonna do?
We make it. Anne looked at Mia with a determined look. We'll do it ourselves.
What?
Mia's mouth hung open for a moment before Anne took her hands. I will help you too. You will make a bento for Prince Abel.
Make it? By myself?
It goes without saying, but Mia had never cooked in her life. Yes, you may not know this, but it is customary among the common people to say that a bento made by a wife for her husband is called beloved wife's bento. Men are always happy when women cook for them, said Anne, nodding to herself with the air of someone who just said something very wise.
I see. So, that's how it works. By the way, Anne, would you happen to be well versed in the art of cooking?
I've baked bread before.
We're doomed.
Mia was sensitive to the nuances of the words that Anne said. She could almost smell the impending danger. Inspired by Anne's words and having all sorts of alarms going off in her head, Mia immediately set out to gather helpers. Despite knowing plenty of people, few of them proved useful. After all, the girls that usually surround Mia were all noble ladies and could probably count with one hand the total number of times that they have been in the kitchen. In fact, the same applied to essentially the whole student body of St. Noel Academy. Almost none of the students here had ever cooked before. Almost none. Mia made her way to the room of one of the exceptions, Chloe. Her family, the Forkroads, are aristocrats, but their title was bought with money. Even now, their lifestyle is that of a merchant. There was a good chance that she could cook.
Oh, Princess Mia. Cooking?
Chloe tilted her head upon hearing the sudden request.
Oh yes, I'm familiar with the topic. I've read about it before.
She answered with a smile, but Mia did not fail to notice her particular choice of words. I'm familiar with, and I have read about.
Yep, I'm doomed. It doesn't look like I'm going to have any luck with her either.
Mia's survival instinct was on point today, and they told her that Chloe's answer reeked of danger as well. Nevertheless, she decided to recruit her to the Bento team. Beggars can't be choosers, after all.
Yes, if it's that day, I don't have any plans, so it's okay.
Saying goodbye to Chloe, who kindly agreed, Mia headed out again, knowing that she needed to scout more people. Her next stop was...
Nobody! There's nobody else that I can think about.
Things had barely gotten started, and she had already hit a dead end. This one hit her particularly hard, especially because she was proud of herself for working hard to make connections.
The problem is the cooking. Finding someone in the academy who can cook is impossible to begin with.
When she was going back to her room to sulk and sleep, she saw Anne coming. Mia-sama, I found someone! A person who can cook!
Really? Wait, let me guess. Someone you know who can cook? Is it Leora-san?
Mia thought of Leora, Tiona's servant. She seemed like a possibility. No, I did try asking her, and I mean she's good, but Leora's extensive knowledge in cooking seems to be that she is good at catching wild rabbits, gutting them on the spot, and then roasting them whole. While that's technically a form of cooking, it seemed it had to be one with the jungle, so to speak. It may be an indispensable skill for someone who lives in the forest like the Lulu tribe, but it is debatable its relevance for making a bento. It seems that Tiona, not Leora, is good at cooking.
Tiona-san?
Mia involuntarily squirmed. In Mia's world, Tiona was public enemy number one. Mia has actively avoided her to ensure they had minimal interaction with each other. Being put in the guillotine was, after all, the kind of thing that tends to leave a lasting impression. But, yes, apparently, she would sometimes help in the kitchen at home. It made sense. The Ridolfin family is a poor noble family that it was almost silly to call them nobles. Moreover, they have a vast land they use for farming. While most of the servants were farming out in the fields, Tiona had to help with the cooking. From the looks of it, she looked like a crucial addition to the bento making team.
Fine,
said Mia, making a face like she had just swallowed the bitterest pill in history. Thus, Mia paid a reluctant visit to Tiona.
Oh, Mia-sama, what's wrong? Tiona-san, I heard that you're good at cooking. Is that true? Oh, yes, that's right.
Seeing Tiona's confident nod, Mia was about to let out a cry of glee.
I used to chop vegetable all the time, so if you need any vegetables julienne, just leave it to me.
Only to choke it back down after hearing Tiona's words.
And other than that, I can mince perfectly too.
Mia may have no knowledge of cooking, but Mia's gut feeling was screaming that something wasn't right. It seemed that Tiona wasn't that reliable either. Still, questionable help was still help, and she needed all the help she could get.
Tiona-san, I'm actually thinking of making a bento for Prince Abel on the day of the swordsmanship tournament. Would you like to do it together? Eh? But you're the princess, and I don't have anybody to give it to.
When Mia heard those words, suddenly a devilish inspiration was born in Mia's mind.
My, is that so? In that case, how about that jerk? How about we prepare an extra one and you can bring one to Prince Sion?
To Mia, it seemed that the chances of her ragtop group successfully preparing a lunchbox was rather low. If things went poorly, whatever concoction they managed to come up with might be so bad that it would make Abel sick and ruin his performance at the tournament. In that case, however, so long as she made Sion eat the same thing,
that way, I'll at least take him down too. This is the perfect chance to get some payback.
She has gone too far to stop now. Operation Bento making has already reached a stage where it will happen one way or another. If they succeed, then it's good. But if she was destined to fail, then so be it. But she wasn't going to fail alone. She's going to take down her archenemy with her. When life gives you lemons, squeeze their bitter juices into the eyes of your enemies. That's right. Mia knew how to take advantage of this as an opportunity to reward her hated enemies. Yes, Mia thought positively. She is a positive thinker. That's how that phrase is used, right?
Moreover, it won't just be my fault, but also Tiona. Prince Sion shouldn't be able to resent me alone. That means, no matter how much Prince Sion hates us, he can single me out. Oh, what a perfect way to have my revenge.
An evil smile crept across Mia's lips. Little did she know that dragging in Sion would ultimately derail her entire scheme and send it off in a completely different direction. Sion Soul Suckland was practicing by himself in the training grounds. Each of his swings were sharp. He demonstrated true mastery of the weapon to the point that even ordinary soldiers could not match him. With a swift step forward, he unleashed a sideways swipe of his sword that was met with applause.
The sun is barely up, and you're already hard at work, my lord.
Ah, Keithwood, I still cannot notice your footsteps. I did not notice you at all. He thought it was time to take a break with the appearance of his attendant. Sion put down his training sword and wiped his sweat. Sweat splattered from his smooth hair which reflected the glittering sunlight. Keithwood quietly observed while wondering if such gestures would fascinate many girls.
So, did you decide whose bento you were going to accept?
I have no plans of accepting anyone's. Keithwood's sudden question received a quick response from the prince. Dozens of girls have already sent offers to Prince Sion. However, Sion politely refused each one of their offers.
Oh, does that mean that you want my own homemade bento?
Sion grinned at Keithwood's jest and returned a mischievous smile. Ha! An interesting thought. Actually, I think I wouldn't mind a taste of your cooking. When was the last time you cooked for me? It must have been when we were still in Suckland. Sion, who received special education from the Emperor since he was a child, extended to all aspects of his life. Even his food was strictly controlled. Little Sion had always been respectful, obedient, and he would always possess wisdom beyond his years. He never openly complained about the bland food, but he often complained to his best friend, Keithwood. So Keithwood would sneak into the kitchen at night, cook a midnight snack, and deliver it to Sion. As a result, he once ended up with a cavity. They both got a good scolding at that time. Now it was just a good memory.
Funny you mention it. I seem to recall receiving a great deal of criticism about my cooking despite me doing it out of the goodness of my heart.
But of course, after all, am I not the prince of the great kingdom of Suckland? It's part of my duty to be particular about the taste of my meals. Anyways, jokes aside, have you made any arrangements for a bento to be delivered? Sion doesn't want to get a bento from anyone. The title of Prince of the Kingdom of Suckland is influential. It's too heavy. Being friendly with any specific person may be seen as a diplomatic move later on the line, and he does not want to implicate his country for such actions.
Yeah, that might be exactly how my prince might be thinking. Not that he's wrong, but honestly, it wouldn't kill him to relax a little and enjoy life.
Crown prince or not, Sion is just a boy in his teens, just as he once complained about wanting to eat delicious food. Now he's missing out on the chance to personally receive a nice bento. If anything, he may feel lonely and a little sad on the inside. So, is there a reason why you're staring at me so pensively?
Can't say, my lord. I guess you just have a very thought-provoking face.
Keithwood left the training grounds while lazily waving his hands goodbye, leaving a perplexed Sion standing alone.
Thing is, there are only a limited number of people that Prince Sion can say yes when it comes to accepting a bento.
The first candidate that came to mind was the face of the Princess of the Tearmoon Empire, a perfect match in title and prestige.
I get the feeling that if Princess Mia were to offer, I don't think Prince Sion will refuse.
Unfortunately, that princess in all her wisdom seemed to have promised to bring a bento to Prince Abel. To this day, Keithwood couldn't for the life of him comprehend why she is so obsessed with Prince Abel.
Oh, Keithwood-san! Perfect timing!
Keithwood suddenly heard his name. He stopped and looked in the direction of the voice.
If it's in Lady Rodelban, how may I be of service in this fine day? Well, you see...
Tiona proceeded to explain their group effort to prepare bentos. After she finished, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of awe as the implications of the plans dawned on him.
So, it's a collaboration of 3 girls, one of which is a low-ranking noble, and the other is the daughter of a merchant who has become a noble. In addition, there is another recipient. Sion wouldn't be the sole focus of attention.
Sure, that would save Sion from having to deal with nasty rumors, such as that he was in love with a particular girl. Moreover, this will strengthen the idea that Princess Mia only wants to be friends with Prince Sion.
As expected of Princess Mia.
Keithwood nodded in admiration. Princess Mia really lived worthy of her title as the wisdom of the Empire. He was witnessing the unfolding of her master plan before his very eyes. Layers upon layers of intricate designs, he could see its delicate thread of logic navigating deftly through the hazardous social maze of St. Noel.
The great wisdom of the Empire, indeed. If she lives up to her... Ugh.
Then all of a sudden, his thoughts were interrupted. A cold chill ran through his spine. It may have been a hunch or perhaps a premonition. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but something didn't feel right, as if a terrible misfortune was about to befall his master. Somehow, he suspected, no, he knew with a certainty that surprised even himself, that if he allowed things to proceed as planned, something terrible would happen at the swordsmanship tournament.
I can't feel any malicious intent from Tiona, who is smiling in front of me, but might as well go take a look. Prudence is the better part of valor after all. Can't hurt to make sure.
It was only then that Keithwood realized how dire his lord's physical condition could be if he left to the ladies on their own. He therefore decided that he would join Mia's bento making corps. Though none of those involved would ever come to know, it was nevertheless true that Keithwood's decision on this day would prove critical in safeguarding the gastrointestinal soundness of both Sion and Abel.
This is it for this video. We will continue with the story of the Guillotine Princess in the next episode. This was Marco the Bureau Mexican and Brian from Jobless Whips. Matanem!